You know, for millions of people, a manual wheelchair is a symbol of freedom, of independence, of being able to navigate the world. But what if that key to freedom came with a hidden cost, a physical price that's paid with every single push? Let's get into the complex reality of mobility. So let's start with a number that just, wow, it really grabs you. A huge meta-analysis. That's where scientists combine the results from a bunch of different studies, found that a staggering 50%, that's 1 out of every 2 manual wheelchair users, deals with musculoskeletal pain that's directly caused by using their chair. This isn't some small niche issue. It's a massive hidden epidemic of pain. So, this leads us to the big question, right? How can a tool that provides so much freedom also cause so much harm? Well, the answer really lies in this fundamental mismatch between the way our bodies are built and the mechanics of the machine itself. To really get to the bottom of this, we need to look at the biomechanics. What's actually happening to the body with every single push? We're basically asking our upper bodies to do a job they were never ever designed for, and the strain is just immense. And, the science is pretty blunt about it. One research paper puts it perfectly. The human body is not specialized for this movement. Think about it. Our arms and shoulders, they're made for reaching, for grabbing, for manipulating things, not for generating the kind of intense, repetitive force it takes to propel our entire body weight all day, every day. This brings us to a really key idea that researchers talk about, the weight-bearing shoulder. What this means is that your shoulder joint, which has this incredible range of motion but isn't very stable, is being forced to act like a hip joint. And your hip is a joint specifically designed to bear weight. Forcing the shoulder to do a hip's job is just a recipe for incredible stress, and you guessed it, and this diagram shows you exactly what's going on. Pushing a wheelchair, especially if you're going fast, creates these really powerful forces that can shove the top of the arm bone upwards, squishing and pinching the delicate rotator cuff tendons against the bone above it. This is the classic setup for a super painful condition called shoulder impingement syndrome. Now, just for a second, think about the repetition. The average manual wheelchair user pushes their chair somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 times every single day. Can you imagine doing 2,500 tiny, forceful movements that your shoulder just wasn't built for? The cumulative damage is enormous. And, well, the results speak for themselves. Shoulder pain is the #1 issue, hands down. When you look across a ton of studies, the average rate of shoulder pain is 44%. It is the absolute primary site of injury. And if you need any more convincing on the scale of this problem, check this out. Another meta-analysis that compared wheelchair users to non-users found something pretty shocking. Manual wheelchair users are nearly 6 times more likely to have shoulder pain than the able-bodied population. 6 times. It's a dramatic and totally undeniable consequence of pushing a chair. But here's the thing. The damage isn't just in one spot. The strain radiates through the whole upper body. It creates this cascade, this chain reaction of common injuries that goes from your neck all the way down to your hands. This table breaks it down really nicely. You've got the spine, where poor posture can lead to neck and back pain, the shoulder, where we see those rotator cuff tears and impingement we just talked about. Even the elbow gets hit with things like tennis elbow. And the wrist, it suffers from overuse issues like carpal tunnel syndrome. You can see how it's all connected. It's a whole chain of injury. This visualization gives us a closer look at the actual damage. We're talking about tears in the rotator cuff, especially that supraspinatus tendon. And we're also seeing the development of these painful trigger points, those super tight, sensitive knots you get in the muscles of your upper back and shoulders from being chronically overloaded. Let's just zoom in on rotator cuff tears for a moment. One study that used MRIs to get a good look found that 63% of manual wheelchair users had tears. Compare that to just 15% of the able-bodied population. That means this specific serious injury is more than 4 times more common. That's a huge difference. And the strain doesn't just stop at the shoulder. The wrist is at super high risk too. That constant pressure and repetitive motion from gripping the hand rims puts a ton of strain on the median nerve. In fact, some studies have found that the rate of carpal tunnel syndrome in manual wheelchair users can be as high as an incredible 78%. Okay, so that's the problem. It is significant and it is widespread. But, and this is a big but, It is not inevitable. The final part of our explainer is all about the solution, because prevention is absolutely the key to preserving health and mobility for the long haul. We can really break down prevention into three core ideas, three pillars. First, getting the equipment right. Second, using that equipment right. And third, getting your body ready for the work it has to do. First up, the chair itself. It makes sense, right? A lighter frame means you need less force for every single push. But it's not just about weight, it's also about the fit. Things like proper seat dimensions and the right cushions help stabilize your pelvis, which is literally the foundation for good posture. If your base is unstable, your upper body has to work way harder, and that just increases the strain. The bottom line, a personalized, well-fitted chair is your first line of defense. Next up is technique. Research has shown that a semicircular push pattern, that's where your hand drops down below the rim as it comes back forward, is way more efficient. When you combine that with long, smooth strokes at a slower pace, you actually reduce the total number of pushes you need to make, and you minimize the stress on your joints. It really is about working smarter, not harder. And finally, the third pillar, conditioning your body. This is so important. Strengthening the muscles that support your shoulder blade and help rotate your arm outward helps balance out the powerful muscles you use to push forward. Stretching out those tight chest muscles helps you maintain good posture. And of course, regular aerobic exercise builds the endurance you need to prevent getting tired, because fatigue is when your form breaks down, and injuries are most likely to happen. So we end with the challenge. We know the problem. We know it's big. And we have some really effective strategies for preventing it. The question that's left is how we, as designers, as clinicians, as users, can build a world where the tool that grants freedom doesn't also take such a heavy toll on the body. How do we make sure that mobility is truly and sustainably pain-free?